About half of all American workers have working-class jobs. About 1% of state legislators do. That gap holds regardless of party and has gotten slightly worse since it was last measured. Ticks are spreading faster than the public health system can track them, carrying more diseases than they did a generation ago, and nobody has a good answer for what to do about it. And the day after Amazon announced it was expanding drone delivery to 500 cities, a Texas woman watched a drone do something that will probably put a dent in that business. Every day, the news cycle produces roughly 1,000 stories. About 6 of them are about politics, and that's all anybody's talking about. I went looking for the rest just to do something different. This is News Side Quest.
From around the globe to your frontal lobe.
Duke University and Loyola University of Chicago political scientists have been tracking the occupational backgrounds of every state legislator in the country for several years now. There's more than 7,000 people. And the number that sits at the center of their update is kind of stark. About half of the American workforce has working-class jobs. So it would be manual labor, service industry, clerical work, labor union positions. About 1% of state legislators come from those backgrounds. 10 states have 0 working-class lawmakers in their legislatures. The number is slightly worse than the last time they measured it. What's interesting about this is what's not causing it. The same researchers ran experiments where voters were given candidates from different occupational backgrounds and asked to choose. And working class candidates did just as well as professional class candidates. Voters aren't actually the problem. People from working class jobs are just as appealing to voters when they run, which they almost never do. The barriers are structural. Campaigns cost a ton of money that working-class people just don't have. Running for office typically requires taking unpaid time away from work that hourly workers just can't afford. These social networks that produce candidates, who knows the right people and who gets recruited, run heavily through professional and business circles. And legislative pay in many states is so low that you need another income source to sustain it, which favors self-employed business owners and lawyers, not factory workers or food service employees. Personally, I want more people in government who've actually done things with their lives other than just move money around. The question of who makes the laws that govern how people live, what medical leave looks like, what minimum wage is, how overtime works, what happens when a landlord doesn't fix the heat, it's not academic. The people who've personally navigated those situations as workers rather than employers have a different knowledge base than the people who currently occupy most legislative seats. That difference probably produces different laws. Have you ever felt like the people making decisions about your life had no real idea of what your life actually looked like, and what specific decision made that clear, if you can narrow it down to one?
The politics of failure have failed. We need to make them work again.
The New York Times Magazine ran a major piece this week on the tick problem in America. And the headline finding is that ticks are spreading into new territory faster than public health systems can track them. The diseases they carry are more numerous and more severe than a generation ago, and there's no coordinated national response. That really sucks. Get it? Ticks suck. I'm here all week. The core issue is ecological. Warmer winters that used to kill ticks off or drive them dormant are now mild enough for ticks to stay active longer and survive in regions where they couldn't previously. The deer population has exploded in many parts of the country, and deer are prime tick hosts. And as suburbs have pushed into forested areas, the distance between where people live and where ticks live has completely collapsed. Lyme disease is the best known consequence, affecting roughly 500,000 Americans every year. But the bigger and less covered story is alpha-gal syndrome, which might be my best name for a syndrome yet, caused by the Lone Star tick, which injects a sugar molecule into your bloodstream that can trigger a severe allergic reaction to red meat and dairy for the rest of your life. Not a temporary allergy, literally a permanent one. The CDC estimates at least 110,000 cases have been documented since 2010, and researchers believe the true number is probably closer to 450,000 because it's frequently misdiagnosed and barely half of the doctors have even heard of it. I'd never heard of alpha-gal syndrome. There is some progress. Pfizer has applied for approval of a Lyme vaccine, the first in 2 decades if cleared, because vaccines are having a moment right now. A pill in clinical trials aims to kill ticks after they bite, but before they can transmit diseases. For alpha-gal syndrome, doctors are increasingly using the allergy drug Xolair to manage the worst reactions. But the public health infrastructure for tracking and responding to tick-borne illnesses is fragmented, underfunded, and operating well behind the pace of what the ticks themselves are doing. So basically like every other disease at this point. A Johns Hopkins expert described this as a very bad year. Might be the understatement of the century. There is currently no equivalent to the mosquito abatement programs that most countries run. No systemic tick control at the environmental level. Has a tick bite, Lyme disease, alpha-gal syndrome, or any other tick illness actually affected you or someone you know? And how would you actually navigate something like that?
Dear Miss Hoover, you have Lyme disease. We miss you. Kevin's biting me. Come back soon. Here's a drawing of a spirochete. Love, Ralph.
Yesterday on the show, I covered Amazon's announcement that they're expanding drone delivery from 11 locations to nearly 500 cities by the end of this year. Today, a video went viral of a Texas woman named Lindsay Austin standing in her backyard watching an Amazon drone hover above her swimming pool, open its hatch, and drop her package directly into the water. When I went into the pool, I was shocked, she told reporters. I don't think I'll be wanting any more drone deliveries. To be slightly fair to the drone, video of the backyard suggests the pool takes up a significant portion of it, and the drone sensors apparently did not correctly identify the water as a non-delivery surface. Amazon said they're reviewing what happened and the customer was taken care of. Beyond the obvious comedy, this is what the early days of genuinely new technology end up looking like. The first email spam, the first car crash, the first time a GPS directed someone into a lake. Every technology that eventually becomes boring and dependable goes through a period where it's doing things nobody anticipated in conditions it wasn't designed for. At scale, it was never tested at. Amazon announcing 500 cities and a drone dunking a package in a pool in the same week is not evidence that drone delivery doesn't work. It's evidence that we're at the beginning of figuring out how it works, which means there's going to be more Lindsay Austins before there aren't. The question is whether the failure rate will drop fast enough to earn the trust that the 500-city expansion is betting on. Lindsay's closing statement that she doesn't think she'll be wanting any more drone deliveries is probably the most honest technology product review published this week. One data point, one customer, completely rational response. I'm sure there's plenty of stories of technological failure at the early onset of a particular technology. I did actually have a good moment with a delivery. I bought components for building a PC and had literally all of them stolen from the lobby of my apartment building. I got refunds for most of it, and the stuff I didn't were the cheapest components, so I wasn't thrilled, but overall it worked out.
Bravo! That'll be hard to top. I pity the next. Tale of interest.
A woman in Kentucky was arrested after allegedly pointing a gun at a KFC employee in an attempt to speed up her order. This did not, in fact, speed up her customer service experience. The order was not completed, but an arrest was.
What's the matter, Colonel Sanders? Chicken?
A ring flushed down a toilet on a New Jersey transit train was recovered and returned to its owner, thanks to the transit system's maintenance staff tracking it through the plumbing. Frodo Baggins wishes people would take better care of their rings.
Precious!
A naked man survived a jump from the Brooklyn Bridge and was subsequently arrested and charged with multiple offenses. At this point in the news cycle, he's presumably no longer naked. The charges suggest the legal situation is more complicated than the clothing situation.
Listen, for God's sake, put some clothes on.
A 38-year-old woman posed as a 12-year-old to get a couple to adopt her, using a high child's voice and a teddy bear as props. Listen, I gotta say, this one is 100% on the parents. They didn't notice that a 38-year-old wasn't a 12-year-old.
How do you do, fellow kids?
That's it for News Side Quest. 3 questions out there heading into the weekend. A time when people making decisions about your life clearly had no idea what your life looked like. Whether ticks have affected you or someone you know and what that was like, and your most spectacular delivery failure of any kind. Email me at newsidequest@gmail.com or stop by the Substack comments. Have a great weekend. See you on Monday.